Oh yeah, there's a notification. Awesome.
Already, huh?
Yeah.
I don't think I got it yet.
No. Yeah, for me it says live on Facebook. What about you, Edwina?
There we go. I'm right there.
He's now streaming live on Facebook.
Awesome.
Yep. So there you are, Jenna. You are Jenna and Edwina. You guys are I mean, you were already famous to me, but
That's possibly the nicest thing anybody said to me.
so let's see here. See, we'll give it maybe a minute or two. So let's just say we'll get started right at 10:06, and I'll just jump in. And like I said, we can continue to have the conversation, the casually converse here, but we will officially begin right at
Cool.
10:06.
Sounds good.
So when you said officially, you're going to push a button and
No, I mean we're already ready. I mean we're live and on Facebook. Like I can see it. I can see it on my phone. So see, we're there.
Nice.
So I will share it personally because I always like to let my friends know.
And if my landline rings, I just have it here. I'm just going to click it off like I just did.
Okay. It's all right. I promise.
I don't know how to turn it down. But my cell phone is on mute.
This is going to be a really good conversation. So no worries at all.
I'm excited. Great idea and a good way to start a Friday.
Well, you know, we've never discussed volunteerism, and it's a shame that we haven't. So, well, hey, let's go ahead and kick this thing off. Hey, good morning. It is Friday, another Friday. Here we are again. It's hard to believe we have another Friday ahead of us, and I'm excited today. This is a conversation that I have been wanting to have for an excessively long time, and it's a little bit different than what we traditionally talk about. Obviously, we're here to talk about domestic violence, but it's important for people to know, I think, that volunteerism is excessively important to PADV. We were incorporated in 1977 originally as an all-volunteer agency. So I think, being that last week was, Jenna, please correct me if I'm wrong, National Volunteer Appreciation Week, we probably should have had this conversation a week ago, but obviously we didn't, and it's okay. But it's just important, like I said, for me to just want to have that conversation about volunteerism because it means so much to the organization. So I'm going to pause here real quick, and I'm just going to let my guests introduce themselves. I think by now most people probably know who I am. I am Jeffrey Brown. I'm the Vice President of Development and Marketing for Partnership Against Domestic Violence. And Ms. Jenna, take it away. Tell us who you are.
Sure. Well, I'm Jenna. I'm the volunteer and in-kind donation coordinator here at PADV. So I'm the person who oversees the entire volunteer program and the volunteer force. And a lot of people ask me, how did you get into this? How did you make this a career? And for me, I discovered my love for volunteering in college. I had a lot of passion and a lot of time, but not a lot of money. So I knew that I could give my time and my passion and an organization, and it was really meaningful to me. It made me feel good, but it was also really impactful for those places that I volunteered. And a light bulb kind of went off, and I said, wow, I can actually do this as a job. So for me, it's such a great joy to be a part of this volunteer force. We have so many people behind us at PADV, people who are passionate, and I get to be surrounded by people who just want to help us in our mission. So it's great to be here. Thanks.
That's awesome. You're amazing. And I can tell you, I remember sitting down in your interview, and I was like, yep, she's the one, so, just your energy for volunteerism and your passion for this field specifically is so important. And then before I jump into questions, I would be remiss if I didn't allow Miss Edwina to just introduce herself. She is one of our amazing volunteers. So take it away.
Thank you. I'm Edwina Sellen, and I am a loyal volunteer, long-time volunteer with PADV. I started in 2011, and and I've been going strong with it ever since. Various volunteer positions, and I must say one of the positions I had actually um, was instrumental in me getting my job that I have now. So,
Cool.
and yeah, yeah. So PDV, the mission, the joy that they put on survivors' faces is just keeps me going, and I'll always be a volunteer.
That's amazing, and I can tell you, for me personally, the one thing I appreciate, one of the things I appreciate the most about the organization is for me, even as an employee, to just be able to have that time to bring a pair of basketball shorts and a t-shirt, to just, if there's a kid in the shelter that just really wants to play, to just be able to take that time out and give my time. As a guy, I think it's just important for me to be active and involved in the shelter life, because I want kids to see a positive role model, a positive man who can
Yes.
dress nice in 1 minute, but then in 2 seconds later be in a pair of basketball shorts that are just gonna have fun, and it's not going to be a guy that's putting his hands on mom. And so I really feel like that's an important thing for the kids in shelter to see. So I think honestly that's why I enjoy volunteering in the shelter as much as I do. There's a group of volunteers that I get to work with every now and then, and we'll actually get to go and cook dinner in the shelter. Anyway, I don't want to dive too deep into this because Jenna is going to probably shoot me and want to talk about that a little bit later. So here we go. First question. We're live, and obviously this is so much fun. I really enjoy these conversations. So Jenna, I'm going to pitch the first softball question to you. Why is volunteerism so important to PADV?
That's such a good question. As you mentioned before, we were established as a volunteer-led agency. So volunteers are still very much at the heart of the agency. Just like any nonprofit, we couldn't do it without our volunteers. Our volunteers are our community. And the bigger force we have behind us, the more we can focus on the women and the children that need help, and the more we can educate our community about domestic violence. I think that it's so important as a volunteer with PADV that you do see this ugly part of our community up close, but then you know how to help. And that's a really beautiful thing, is that you get to see how people thrive and get better. And it's just so important to have all these people behind us that are passionate and just want to help and educate everybody around them.
Thank you. So Mr. Edwina, jump in here, man. Tell me, what's been your most enjoyable volunteering experience?
I would say preparing the gala.
Yay! That's my favorite too.
Gala. It's PADV's most, the biggest fundraising that they have, and it's a lot of work that goes into it. Yeah. And I have recruited some of my friends to come and help, and they love it, and they said, have me there each year. And it's just seeing Survivor on the stage with her kids crying and just happy. It brings tears to my eyes, and it's such a joy. It's a lot of work, but at the end, it's just really, it's really good.
You were telling me yesterday, and Jenna, we were speaking yesterday. You were telling Edwina, you were telling me that your first experience with PADV was actually volunteering on the crisis line. So can both of you guys, well, one, I'll ask Jenna. Jenna, why is having a volunteer man our crisis line so important?
So our crisis line is the biggest volunteer need that we have right now. It is a 24-hour crisis line. And Jeff, you might be able to speak on how many calls we get a day or a year, but it's nonstop. We get calls all the time, and it might just be for resources, or it might be for a safe place to go. And our staff, they have their hands in a lot of different pots, and they do so many things for all of our clients and the people calling in from the community. So to have that extra help from our volunteers, people who can be there to pick up the phone so that we can offer support to our clients in another way, is really important, because truly those calls, sometimes it's quite quiet, and then you'll get 5 calls in 5 minutes. So it's just great to have that support.
You know, and Edwina, I'm gonna bounce it to you here in just a second, just to share why you started with the crisis line. But I can tell you, just from my experience being in working in the shelter when I do, having that volunteer that's there to answer that crisis line means that our staff can then give that one-on-one attention to the person who just walked in the door that needs to get settled and get a room. Right. But then it also means, hey, our child advocate doesn't have to answer the phone if somebody's busy. If everybody else is busy, then our child advocate can stay 100% focused on that kid that may be in her office. Or our transportation advocate isn't going to be running late to take a woman to get and her family to get groceries that day. So having that volunteer, or having that team of volunteers that are in place and ready to go, especially with the crisis line, means that our advocates can be the best advocates they can. So Ms. Edwina, tell me, why did you initially get started with the crisis line? What was so important that brought you there?
Well, when I joined PADV, they said, you have a great voice. Do you mind doing the crisis line? You know, it's soothing. After I went through the training, they said that would be a good thing for you. And I was a bit nervous. I said, okay. So I got on the crisis line, and after a week of doing it, I committed myself to 1 day a week. Then after a week, I felt so comfortable and it was so rewarding that I started doing it every day. Wow. And it was in the mornings. And then that, with that led me to helping the manager of that shift to help register survivors in. So I started with the crisis line, telling them the resources and getting them up to get the courage to leave, which sometimes it takes 2 and 3 calls from that same person, and then seeing that person in a safe place in one of our shelters. And so I just said, I'm just going to stick with this. Then when one of our survivors said, well, I'm not going back. I really want to end this. I want protection. And then I was told about Safe Families. Like, oh, so what's Safe Families? So when I was introduced to that, I started doing both at the same time. So it was the crisis line, then it was another day, Safe Families. And that's what I did for a good year or 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now obviously you volunteer with all of our events.
Yes. Yes.
Because every place, every event that I'm at for work, you tend to be at as well. So it's always enjoyable to walk into a space. There've been a couple times you beat me there. So I think if you could not do that anymore, it makes me look bad. So Jenna, you are also in charge of managing all of our in-kind donations.
Yeah.
What's our current need, and what's the most pressing thing that folks who are watching today how can they get involved in that way, and what's our most pressing need?
Sure. So amid the pandemic, I think that our needs have changed a little bit. So right now we could really use masks, so face coverings. We've had a group of volunteers who actually made some for us a couple weeks ago, and that was really helpful. So masks, cleaning supplies like Lysol wipes and spray, gloves, baby essentials, especially baby wipes. Those are things that we could really use. Some extra things would be individually wrapped meals. That way our clients don't have to go out all the time to get food. We can have some lovely meals ready for them at the shelters. And then also, because Mother's Day is coming up, I went ahead and added some Mother's Day baskets onto our Amazon registry so that we can spoil our mothers in the shelters a little extra next week. Well, I guess May 10th. So the way you can get involved is just to go on our website. We have an Amazon registry there, and it's so easy. You can just click and send to us. We also have a in-kind needs list that we continue to update, and that has things like full-size toiletries and cleaning supplies and all those basic necessities.
Awesome. You know, one of the favorite things that I do, one of the favorite things that I've done as a volunteer is, and I'm sure she won't mind. So this is obviously pre-pandemic, and hopefully we can kick this off again after the pandemic. But Karen Atkins, one of our former board members, she would actually come in every month and cook a meal for the entire Fulton shelter. And I, you know, every time she would do that, she did it for obviously breakfast, lunch, and dinner, depending on the month. But obviously my schedule is a little bit easier if I do dinner because I can just come straight from the office. But her and her husband, Richard, they did smoked wings. And so obviously being the wing connoisseur that I mean, excuse me, the rib connoisseur that I am, I had to come out and help. And so every time Karen comes to the shelter, she's doing smoked ribs, I'm there. And so it's an amazing experience just to come for me to help cook a meal. The volunteers all show up, they bring all the stuff in, they cook in the kitchens, and then they sit down and share a meal with our survivors. And so that, I think, for me has been one of the most amazing volunteer experiences that I've had. And Jenna, is that something special that we just let Karen do? Or is that something that obviously post-pandemic, any volunteer can come in and any volunteer group can come in and cook a meal?
Yes, great segue. You can tell that you've done this a few times.
Just one or two.
One of our most popular group volunteering opportunities is providing a meal to our survivors in our shelters. So that could be a corporate group if you need to do some corporate team building, or a church group, or a college group, really. Whatever that group looks like, that's definitely one of the most popular things, is you bring in all the supplies for any meal you can think of. The one that you and I just did last was a taco bar, and that was so much fun.
Yep.
So basically the volunteers just come in and they either have food pre-prepared or they cook it in our kitchens. We have really well-equipped kitchens that are really easy to prepare meals in. And we get to serve our survivors, which is kind of a luxury. Everybody kind of goes down the line and we put all the delicious things on their plate, and then we get to break bread with them. And I say this all the time. Yes, we are professionals, but we are humans first. Mm-hmm. So to build that community inside our shelters is really, really important. And it's always such a good time, especially when the kiddos come around. We always have such a good laugh, and it's really great. And a lot of the time after a meal, we do board games or anything like that. And it really is just a truly heartwarming and fun volunteer opportunity.
I think for me, one of the reasons why it's so impactful for me personally is I can think about, you know, I'm a dad, so, and I work, right? And so the idea of coming home at the end of a long day and then having to cook a meal is exhausting in and of itself, right? To cook for your family. But then if I added that extra layer of trauma for our survivors, to think most of them are going to work and then they're coming home and you know, and having to deal with all they have to deal with. So the idea that we could have a volunteer group that's already there cooking a meal for them, like, to me, that just seems like a weight lifted off their shoulders. And for them to just, you know, and they're always good. Like, you know, when Lightspeed Automation came in and did the taco bar, amazing, right? And so just to have that weight lifted off their shoulders, and they can just come in and relax and be a mom to their kids and and share that meal, there's nothing better. So I think for me, if I can encourage anybody today that's watching this video, just come in and cook a meal and play with the kids. Like, that's where it's at. And I think the empathy and the love that we show our survivors means so much to them. So Miss Edwina,
yes.
Question for you. Why is volunteering for PADV so important to you?
Well, I needed to give back. And then when I did my research, I needed to give back to a nonprofit that was powerful, had meaning, and a dream. So when I did my research, PADV popped up, then it popped up again. And then I said, this is it. And it's just an important part of my life now. It has been for almost 10 years and it will always be. It's like my second job. And I take off from my real job to help you guys out. You know, I hope my boss isn't listening.
No, he's watching. It's okay. He's watching right now. He's all right.
But he knows exactly, you know, what I do. And it's just a part of my life now. I'm a professional volunteer and I'm always available for PADV. It's just really a great organization, and you guys are so nice, and you treat your volunteers with respect, and like we're part of your team, which we are. We just happen to be volunteers, but you treat us like like you're paying us, you know, like we're, you know, just you couldn't do this event without us. And so that makes me feel good. And after, you know, I go home and I'm exhausted, you know, I put my little pictures on Facebook, you know, send them to you all, you know, to remember the Kodak moment of being involved with PADV. So it's a joy being part of the PADV family.
That's awesome. Hey, and I want to make a point real quick to our watchers. If there are any questions that you guys have, feel free to drop them in the comment section. I do have probably one or two more questions for each one of them. So if there's questions that you guys have that you'd like us to answer about volunteerism or about the organization in general, please feel free to drop them in there. We'd love to interact with you in that way. I do see one comment here from Miss Walker. She says she's a past resident and we helped her family. Ms. Walker, we appreciate you so much for just your trust in us, for trusting PADV with your family. And congratulations to your son. He's a senior now in high school. So he's going to go on. I don't know him personally, but I know he's going to go on to do some great things. So keep up the great work as a mom. And again, thank you for trusting us. And it's so exciting to hear that you're thriving. Wow. After your ordeal. So thank you so much for watching with us today. And we appreciate you for trusting us. So here's I have a couple more questions for you guys. Ms. Edwina, what's one thing you would like to share about volunteering? So anything that you want to think of, you know, this is just your opportunity to speak directly to everybody that's watching about, you know, what's one thing that you would personally like to share?
Well, as a volunteer, I just think of it as a financial contribution. Time, talent is our treasure, and volunteering is something that I feel is very important part of my life, and a lot of nonprofits, and especially PADV, welcomes volunteers, and they appreciate us, and they invest in us, and they welcome us with, you know, open arms, and it's something that's a relief from my real job. So volunteer for something you like, you're passionate about, and just make it part of your life. And I've done that with PADV, and I like it. And I miss being with you guys face to face, the different events. It just makes my day. You know, I get to put on lipstick, do my hair, and put on heels, you know, and show up and help. So it's great. I love it. I do.
Awesome. Jenna, same question. What's one thing that you would like to share about volunteering at PADV?
So like I said, we could not do it without our volunteers. They help in so many ways. Edwina is such a great example. She's volunteered across the board from very serious things to very fun things. So please know that volunteering with us, there's something for everyone. What I like to emphasize is that whatever you're passionate about, please share that with us. We have people who teach yoga, do reflexology, do hair braiding. We have a group that comes in and brings brunch and does manicures for our survivors in the shelters. You can help on the crisis line, the legal advocates office, and also at our fabulous galas and events. There really is no end to what you can do. I'm so open to having a good conversation with anybody who applies to be a volunteer to figure out what's the right fit for you and how you can help in a way that's meaningful to you, but is also impactful to PADV. And I'm really excited to share that with people and hopefully get a good group of volunteers coming in after all this is over. And I'm really missing our volunteers in person right now. But we really truly value the work that our volunteers do. And we could not say thank you enough.
Awesome, Jenna. And I do. And I think a lot of our conversation today probably focused a lot on volunteerism within the spectrum of volunteering in the shelter, whether it be crisis line or helping with kids or cooking a meal. But I think it's important for people to know that there's volunteer opportunities across the organization, whether it's like Miss Edwina volunteering at an event, or again, Miss Edwina volunteered in our Safe Families office, which is the arm of our organization that helps women in Fulton County get temporary protective orders. Well, we need volunteers there as well. And that's, again, another rewarding experience of just seeing the sigh of relief that happens in a woman who the judge just granted her temporary protective order, which means she has some semblance of safety from her abuser. So just to see that sigh and receive that hug as a volunteer, that's an amazing space to work and volunteer in. And I learned yesterday, Ms. Edwina, that you're not a survivor of domestic violence.
No, I'm not. And a lot of people are surprised that, I'm not. And, well, why do you volunteer there? I just reiterate, my feelings and the mission. And you do not have to be a survivor to volunteer with PADV. It's the love, it's the wanting, the dream of just a world full of nonviolence, in the home. So you don't have to be a survivor. You just have to be someone that is passionate about a certain dream, and just imagine just a world with just no domestic violence. That would be awesome. So everybody should just think about it and go online and read their mission, and hopefully you'll feel what I feel.
Yeah. Hey, I do want to make a point to say, Jenna, if somebody's watching this right now and they want to get involved, how do they reach you?
Yes. So the volunteer email you can reach me at is just volunteer@padv.org. Super easy. And you can also go to our website, which is padv.org. And you'll see a tab up at the top, and it will lead you to more information about volunteering as an individual or as a group. It will also have our application on there if you know for sure this is it for you. You want to send it in for me to review. And then after that, I'll give you a call and we'll just chat about what you want out of this experience, what we expect, and find the right place for you within the volunteer force.
Can I ask a question? Just one question?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I've gotten some feedback, with the pandemic, So with all that you said, training will come virtually, or how would they, be trained for specific things like this line?
Typically, we would have an in-person orientation, which is about a half a day, and we do a potluck. It's really wonderful. Amid the pandemic, we're trying to see how long this is going to last. And I've already gotten a lot of lovely applications in the midst of all this. So we are exploring ways to do an online orientation, and we're just trying to figure out what that looks like right now. But I've been sending out monthly volunteer updates. So if you want to be added to that list, go ahead and again, send me an email at volunteer@padv.org, and I'll make sure that you're staying informed with our plan moving forward, again, in the midst of COVID-19.
Thank you. Well, hey, that's all I got for today, guys. I just want to let you guys know I appreciate both of you. And I appreciate all of our volunteers. You guys make our job so much easier and more enjoyable. Just to have your smiling faces around everywhere is immensely important. I do want to make sure that I do a plug for Giving Tuesday. Giving Tuesday now, it's a special in response to COVID-19 Giving Tuesday. We're going to be participating in that on May 5th. So if you're watching this and you have a heart for PADV, we would love for you to get involved in this global day of giving. That is going to be Tuesday all day. You can obviously give right now if you choose to, but obviously if you want to be involved in this global day of everybody giving to a bunch of different organizations that are all doing really great work in the community, we invite you to think about PADV at that time as well. So Jenna, Miss Edwina, I thank you guys so much. And I thank everybody who's watching today. We can't wait to see you. Actually, we're going to be going live, I think, next Tuesday. And we're going to be going live twice, actually. So next week, we'll go live twice on Tuesday. So we'll talk about, we'll get a little bit more in depth with our shelter services. We'll talk about what PADV is doing in the community. I think on Friday, we're going to be talking about we might be talking about teen dating violence Friday. I can't remember. So in the midst of this pandemic, I have decided that I just want to go live a lot every week to bring our mission to people who may have a heart for it. So join us next Tuesday, definitely at 10 a.m. and at 2 p.m. We'll talk about our shelter services and our supportive housing, and we will talk about what PADV is doing in the community. So again, we appreciate all of you for watching today. This has been another amazing conversation. If we can do anything for you, again, volunteer@padv.org. And if for any general questions that you guys might have, info@padv.org is another way to connect with us. Follow us, obviously, if you're here watching today, make sure you followed us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. It's all at PADV Atlanta, Twitter, YouTube, all of it. It's all PADV Atlanta. So again, we appreciate all of you for watching today. Thank you so much for being a part of this great conversation. And y'all have an amazing day. Bye.
Bye-bye.